Well, like her famous son, Lucille O'Neal towered over her peers by the time she was 12. For years, Lucille spent her life in the shadow of what she calls mental welfare, but not anymore.
Lucille O'Neal is the proud mother of 4 children, including NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal. Her life is good now, but Lucille admits that her journey was not always so glamorous. Her struggles began early in life when she became an unwed teenage mother. Through the years, her struggles continued as she battled alcohol, poverty, and spiritual unrest until the reality of possibly losing her mother helped Lucille refocus her life.
Please welcome back to the 700 Club the author of Walk Like You Have Somewhere to Go, Lucille O'Neal. It's great to have you back here. Good to see you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
You've been a busy lady since I saw you last. You've got a new book and you're touring and talking and doing all kinds of things. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things you wrote about in the book, Lucille. You were 17 when you had Shaquille, right?
Yes, fresh out of high school.
Wow. And your mom had you at an early age.
Well, she did, but she was living in Georgia, and she was married then when we were born.
So how did your beginnings impact your life down the road?
Well, when Shaquille was born, I was afraid. I didn't know how to be a mother, had no idea even what that meant. However, with the help of my grandmother and my mother, they helped me get through. I was scared, and I didn't understand really what I got myself into. However, they stuck by me. They stuck by me, and I appreciated that. And I learned from them how serious this was.
Yeah, it really is serious. Mothering is a big responsibility, and you didn't have the advantage of having your mom in your life in the early years. So what adjustments did you have when you had Shaquille and you were so young? What were some of the things that you struggled with?
Well, we were raised by our grandparents, and I don't believe that grandparents at that time knew how to give love. They felt that, okay, we're clothing you, we're feeding you, so that is telling you that we're loving you. However, I wanted to make sure that my son understood how much I loved him. I cared for him, I talked to him, and I made sure he heard the words coming out of my mouth as well as felt my arms around him each and every day. But it was hard because everything that I did not have, I tried to give to him.
So in some ways, what had been a loss for you worked for Shaquille because it gave you like a tenacity inside of you that said, I'm going to be a good mother to this child.
I did. I worked real hard. I accepted the responsibility when I knew exactly what it was. I was on welfare only for a few months, but I was determined that I was going to take care of him. And I had to do it alone, which was not a problem. But I did the best that I could because I made sure that he was taken care of. So I got a job. I was able to clothe him, and I fed him. And I'm so grateful to God for that. It helped me get stronger at that time.
You actually used the phrase that you had a case of mental welfare, and I think it was Shaq who actually coined that term for you. Tell me what you mean when you say that.
Well, when I think about mental welfare, I was in a place where I depended on everyone else for my happiness. I didn't know what it was to be happy inside. I concentrated on making my grandparents happy by doing what they told me to do. I concentrated on making my friends happy, just going along with what they wanted to do, which was not a good place for me. So when Shaquille and I talked about writing this book, he said, Mommy, you should call it this, From Mental Welfare to Mental Wealth, because he really traveled that journey with me. Yes. But I had to sit down and really, really think about what that meant. And that mental welfare place where you're dependent on everybody else, not even dependent on God, even if you know God, but just dependent on people for your happiness, that's not a very good place to be.
Sometimes when you're really young, as you were at that point, you don't know who you are yet, enough to kind of rise up and declare victory in the midst
you don't even know any better.
Difficulty.
You don't know any better.
It's really true. You were raised by your grandparents in the church, and there was a woman pastor who really had an impact on your life. Tell me about her.
Her name was Reverend Iola Hartsfield. And she was a short woman, but she was strong and stood up straight, stature, very courageous. And she would assign me to do most of the things that I didn't want to do because being tall, I never wanted to be in front of people. I didn't want to be in the limelight. And I really didn't want to be seen. So I would shrink back in the crowd. And she would call me, Lucille, walk like you have somewhere to go. I had to stand up straight. I knew she was watching me. And she stayed on me, but it took years for me to realize that she was helping me with my self-esteem.
Yes.
And I'm grateful today for her. I wish she was alive so that I can tell her how grateful I am. But
I bet she knows.
I believe she does. I believe she's watching.
You said that you were at a place where you, and I think a lot of young people who have low self-esteem at a time in their lives when they're growing up feel this way, like they just want to blend in. They don't want anybody to notice them. They don't want to stand out in any way. And here you are, you have a son who becomes an NBA star. How did his success change your life and your family's life?
When Shaquille began to get recognized, I realized that the world would be watching us too.
Yes.
And I was drinking so much, and I felt that it was okay as long as nobody was watching. But when the world began to pay attention, I did not want the people to say, look at Shaq's drunk mama.
Yeah.
It weighed on me. I knew I was not doing right. It weighed on me. And when you get into a place where you have to cry out for some help, there's no one left sometimes but God.
Yes.
So I had to pray to God, God, please, I need your help with this problem right here. And God answered me. He answered me. He delivered me, took the taste of alcohol from my mouth. And I'm proud. I stand as a representative for Shaquille. Wherever I go, I stand as a representative for my other children, Shaquille, Latifah, Aisha, and Jamal. And I want people, when they see me, I want them to see that I'm a good mother. And I'm not trying to impress anybody, but there is a proper way to do things. So I'm grateful that God allowed me to straighten up and start doing things the proper way.
So in some ways, Shaquille's success had an impact on your willingness to do something about the role alcohol had in your life.
Well, my mother used to always tell me that God has the master plan for your life. And I didn't know what that meant back then. But I can see now how he orchestrated all of this. He orchestrated all of this. And I'm so happy right now. I'm working in my small church in Orlando. I get so much joy just encouraging people that come through the doors of that church. And what I write about in the book, I share my journey, but I want people to ultimately know that God is there with you. When he said he'd never leave you, that is a true fact. And I stand as a witness today. You
went on and got a wonderful education to be able to do the things that you're doing today. What was the motivation that sent you back into that option?
When you have a dream and the dream is embedded so deep inside, that dream never leaves you. When Shaquille was born, I was out of high school. I still wanted to go to college, but I could not. I got married. I had 3 other children. We traveled in the military for 20 years. But I still kept holding on to the dream that I wanted to go to college. I wanted more education. I have a thirst for knowledge. Still today, I have a thirst for knowledge. I don't claim to know everything. But when my youngest son left home, I said, okay, God, is it my time? Is it my time now? And the opportunity presented itself. Wow. And I went back, and my good son, my lovely son, he paid for my college education.
Isn't that
and
wonderful?
That is so wonderful. And I feel so blessed in so many ways.
And one of the dreams that you had was that you wanted to be able to speak. You got to a place where you really wanted to be able to express what was in your heart, the dreams that you had, the things that mattered to you and that were important. And here you are, you've written a book, you're touring, you're talking to people. I mean, have your dreams been fulfilled? They are being fulfilled every day, and I'm so grateful to God. I told God from the time I was 12, I said, I want to be a motivational speaker. He's given me a platform, and I'm honored that you would ask me to come and be here with you so I can speak and share my story with the rest of the world. Well, you've got a great story, and it is motivational. And I love the title of the book from Pastor Iola, Walk Like You Have Somewhere to Go. And it's a great message for everybody. This, by the way, is available in bookstores all around the country. I suggest that you get a hold of it. It's highly motivating. Thank you. It's great to have you back, Lucille. Good to see you. God bless you. Congratulations on your book. Thank you.